Okay, here we go. Let's do this. We got to run this back. I just started naming names, and I don't name names. I caught myself naming names. So we're going to start again. We're going to start over, and we're going to talk about preparation, and we're going to talk about visualization. So I assume everybody knows how to prepare and that they understand the process and the value of visualization. But I don't think that's the case. I think that's an assumption that I have that's possibly not true. So let's talk about it. I just want to share some preparation stories that I've had over the years for tournaments and money matches and things. And I've shared some of them before, but like a lot of people on the channel are new, so we'll just kind of starting fresh here a little bit. And sorry if this is a repeat on some of these items, but I just want to talk to you guys because I thought, people come to me and they say, well, I got this tournament or I got this thing coming, or I had a lesson last week with a student and they're like, I got 7 weeks to get ready for this tournament. Or else I think about like, how can I get like our team prepared for leagues? Like what can I do to like really laser in on one thing or something to help? Or I've been thinking a lot about like beginner pool, and I've made videos on what I think beginners need to do to sort of like be more competitive and have better results and all that. And so that's like a preparation thing, right? So I started thinking more about preparation and visualization and that's fine. So I thought, let's do a podcast on it. Okay. So here we are. So let's talk. So I'm going to go through some of the things that I do for preparation and visualization, and then I'll go over some stories of how I prepared and the visualization things I did. So when I play, I like to be prepared by playing on, at the very least, similar equipment. And if not similar equipment, meaning like if I'm going to play on bar table, if someone says, you're going to play in this tournament on a stream or this event or this money match or this whatever, and it's on a bar table and it's a diamond, then for sure I'm playing. Then it has to be red or blue label. I got to know what kind of cue ball. I want to know what the equipment is, and then I'm going to prepare on that up until a certain point. And then if it's a set time, then I'm going to go prepare at the venue because, factors are different. Humidity, cloth, how they clean the balls, the environment. I want it to be normal when I'm there. I want it to be calm. I want it to feel comfortable. Like I've been there before. I'm not surprised by anything. That helps when I go to the venue eventually to practice and get ready, because then I can sort of find my space and just be okay with what's around me. And so that's how I look at preparation, is that I want to prepare on similar equipment until close to the event or match or whatever, and then I want to go on the actual table or tables that are in the area. And I kind of feel like this is like 101 normal stuff, but I don't think people do it this way. And like overall, I think people more just kind of, a lot of times because we're busy and we're not, and it's not so serious, bro, kind of stuff, we just sort of show up for events and kind of get going, right? Break the balls and start the game kind of thing. And it's like, that's fine. But I'm just kind of saying, if you're in a spot where you are trying to improve preparation and preparing for an event or a tournament or a league night or whatever is critical, or a match or something, it's important. And I'll just explain like my experience with it. And it's important because you want to put in the hours and the time to prepare, because one of the reasons is because then you're going to be more familiar with how the things react, the rails, the ball, everything I talked about, the environment. That's important to have like the physical sort of familiarity, but there's also like an emotional kind of like calming familiarity that's important with going. And then there's also visualization. Like when you get in the actual environment, you can actually visualize what's going to happen before the match, right? Pro golfers are this way. Like when they get to a pro tour event, they go with their caddy around the course and they map everything out, and they schematically look at the course and the undulation and where they're going to hit to and where they want to come in on pins and where the different pin placements will be. It's a lot of preparation and work before a professional golfer hits a golf ball at a golf course. They don't just roll into the Masters and tee off and hit a half bucket of balls and tee off. It's just not done that way. Okay. So pool is just a little bit done more that way, right? Have your cigarette, throw it on the ground, whack the ball like John Daly. I mean, that can work for some people, but most of the time athletes are preparing, right? And that's the way I look at this game. It's more like an athlete would look at it. So preparation is important and visualization is important. And the reason why I'm sharing visualization is because I think that when I worked formally training people live at the club, I had a night where I gave a big intro and there was maybe a dozen people there. And I'm like, we're going to hit only the 9-ball tonight, just the 9-ball. We're going to hit the 9-ball and we're going to visualize making the 9-ball. Well, it was like, herding cats. Like everyone started hitting different balls. No one wanted to hit the 9-ball. I'm just going to hit this ball. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to get it done, right? Because I have experience in this area and visualization is critical. And hitting this ball many, many, many times helps calm down your nerves when you're hitting it for the money or when you need to win. And it's a thing. And I just noticed that like people didn't really believe it. I would say a percent, like most people. Some people did it because they just they're compliant, but most people just were off on their own doing their own thing. And it's like, it was a missed opportunity. So then here I am saying to you guys, please don't miss this opportunity. Hitting this ball or an 8-ball if you're an 8-ball player, or a 10-ball if you're a 10-ball player, or the 7, 8, 9, or just the 8, 9 at the end of a game. These are really, really critical visualization and training things that you can implement into your game. Because what happens is, as my experience was, even at a professional level or over 700 level, whatever you want to call it, when I got to the 7, 8, 9 or the 9, because I don't play 15 hours a day and gambling and throwing money around, like I get nervous towards the end of a rack at times, or I get nervous, especially before I was like more present and all those things that I'm working on now and that I'm finding work well. But even now, I still can get nervous with this ball because it's a 9-ball. No matter how easy it is or hard it is, it's harder with the 9. That's all I'm going to tell you. For me, it's harder with the 9. It's harder with the 7, 8, 9. And so I know that towards the end of the rack, I have a tendency to, my oxygen gets less essential. I mean, this is what's happening like physiologically. I'm not breathing the same in the past. Now it's better, but I knew in the past that everything was freaking falling apart when I got to the 7, 8, 9, like intellectually, emotionally, physically. I just didn't feel good. I was losing power. It was going down. The lights were starting to dim. And so I started saying, okay, 7, 8, 9, I'm going to train it hundreds of times, either through marked runouts or ghost or whatever. I'm just going to sit and hit 3-ball runs with the 7, 8, 9 and just know that when the 7, 8, 9 is on the table and the pressure's up next time, I'm going to be more familiar with it and better with it. So that's the benefit of visualization. And I do it with the 7, 8, 9. I do it with the 9. I do it with the 8 if I'm going to play 8-ball, all that stuff. So that's the benefit of visualization. That's how we do visualization as training. And so I would suggest you guys do that and embrace it and see if it helps, right? If it doesn't help, then I don't know, figure something else out, but I think it'll help. So now let's talk about some visualization preparation stuff I've done, okay? Well, I had a match, let's see, when was one of the first, I've always done it ever since I was a kid. I've always missed shots and gone back, set them up, and then put myself in that position again, and then just hit the shot again within that same position. So if I was playing, like Louis Lemke was this guy that was a local player. He's passed away, R.I.P. Louis. But he was a national level player, over 700 type player back before Fargo. And he and I used to battle a lot when I was 15 years old, because I'd be playing these nightly tournaments and he'd be playing these nightly tournaments. And so, it was cool because it's a great guy to play and you grow up playing against 2-3 nights a week and all that. But if I had a match with him or somebody else, but his matches were always a little more memorable, I guess, when you're a kid. And so you would just be more in tune with what's happening. So then I'd miss a shot and then I would go set it up, or I would, try to learn what happened there. And I didn't really have a great way of doing things. It was just kind of Hulk smash volume. But I definitely have always been a visualization guy. I'd put myself back in that moment and I'd visualize Louis and what I was thinking at the time and trying to normalize playing Louis and just accelerate through, or whatever I was doing back then, who knows, and just try to keep hitting balls and be okay with that scenario. So that's kind of how I would do it if I was post-match. And then pre-match I would prep like crazy. So there was matches that I played where there was a Beat the Pro, and there was a super tight diamond back, this is 20 years ago, and it was and it was like the cloth was slower, the pockets were super tight. This is an older diamond. The shelf went in really deep. It was just gnarly. The table was super gnarly. And I'll tell you a quick story about how gnarly it was. I had the 7, 8, 9 up, ironically, and I was playing a guy and he was a 650. And he hooked me. And I don't remember where the 7, 8, 9 was, but the 7 and the 8 were close together down here, and the 9 was maybe on the side rail over there or something. And I couldn't hit the 7 and have a good outcome, so I just pushed the 8 ball up to the middle of the end rail and picked up the cue ball and handed it to him. And basically looked at him and said, "You can't run 3 balls." And he looked at me, and he was like a 650, and he looked at me like, "How dare you?" And then he proceeded to not run 3 balls. And it was like this meta game, right? Where I'm like, I dared him to run 3 balls on this table. And it's funny because I've done these videos on how many balls people run. This guy was 650. I pushed, so he had to hit a shot and come down and hit another shot back, right? So he had a lot of distance to travel with 3 balls. And I'm like, I'm just gonna create distance between these 3 balls. And if he can run out, he can run out. But I knew how tough that table was. And I knew that was my best chance. And so I did it, and he missed and I won the game. And I was just like, it was just like a funny story. And so 650 not being able to run 3 balls. This is with ball in hand, that's a thing for money. Okay, so we're back to that same table. That tells you how tough the table is. We're back to that same table. And what I learned from watching the Beat the Pro is that he had about 10 or 12 people that signed up, paid $100, $50, whatever. And then if they beat him, they got what the pot was, whatever that was, a few hundred. And because you get $50 to enter, and then if you lose, you lose. And you had to win 2 out of 3 races to 9. So at the time, he was just getting retired from pool. He was probably, he was over 750. He wasn't 800, but he was probably in the mid-high 700s. Good pro. He'd won a pro event. Solid pro. But he was more of a grinder type. He wasn't like explosive. He just was more like a Nick Varner-y type of approach, And so he would play on this super tight equipment. And what I saw was, I watched most of the matches of these guys that were all 700 or so, 700-ish or more players, and they would all struggle on that table and struggle on that table and struggle on that table. And I was watching, and I'm like, man, nobody's here. Because I used to play at this room, and I would play on that table because I wanted it tough. I wanted to play on the tough equipment, and I knew it would help my game. And I watched as nobody came into that table, and I knew how tough that table was. That table was super tough, triple tough. And I'm watching these guys, and he's doing this challenge match, and I'm like, nobody's preparing for this match. And nobody's mentally preparing. They're not even physically preparing by being on the table. So long story short, I put my name on the list, and at this time I was like struggling with am I an amateur? Am I a good player? Am I a bad player? Who knows? I don't really know. And I'm like, well, I don't even know if I'm qualified to play him because these are all the big dogs, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'll take a shot. So I sign up, I sheepishly sign up, and then I go in there and I prepare. And I go in for 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, and I get in there every day I can, most days, and I hit balls, and I hit balls, and I hit balls, and I rattle balls, and I miss balls, and I rattle balls, and I miss balls, and I hit balls. And I just go, okay, don't worry about it. Just keep hitting balls. This is a tough table. Don't think about running racks. Think about running a few balls at the end. Just try to fight. This is going to be a dog fight. And I prepared, and I got used to the table, and I got used to the environment, and I visualized, and it was going to be roped off. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be roped off. There's going to be chairs here. I'm kind of getting myself comfortable. I'm in the exact environment. I'm playing on the exact table. I'm getting ready. I'm preparing hard for like 3-4 weeks, 2-3 weeks, whatever it was. And long story short, I'm the only one that year out of a dozen people that took a set off of them. So I won the second set, and we went to the hill set, and it was cool, and it was fun, and it was a good experience, and taught me about preparation, because I looked at a situation and I assessed that people weren't preparing, and if I prepared, I would I could win a set off of him, and I could maybe even win the challenge, because I want to win the challenge, and I just couldn't get there. But it was cool. So then that was one thing with preparation that I did that it kind of set me in motion. That this is how I prepare, and this is how I get ready, and that I see a good outcome from putting in lots of preparation. The other thing was there's a lot of different tournaments and things and prep things that I've done over the years, but there was another tournament. It was like a state amateur type tournament, and it was at a local pool room, and it was 9-ball and 9-foot tables, races to 9, double elimination, and I got third one year, and then I got second, and each year I got second. It was some out-of-town player that came in from Texas or wherever, and it was kind of like a road player type thing, and I had problems. Like, I didn't believe I was supposed to win, so I would beat all the local guys because I would go in there and prepare for that tournament, and I just would say, this is my yearly tournament. I'm going to out-prepare all these people, and I'm going to win this tournament. I'm going to try to give myself a chance to win this tournament. So I would go through and I would prep, and I'd prepare, and I'd be the only one in that pool room for 2 weeks preparing for that event. And it was very consistent preparation, and as a result of that, I feel like I did really well in that tournament, and I became a better pool player by putting in that work, right? Even if the work was just blunt force, I didn't even know what I was doing, it got me to where it helped, right? And I was prepared. And the cool thing about it is that, yes, of course I got good results, but to some extent, the sad part is I always felt like, I couldn't get over the hump against a, real player comes in and I get beat kind of thought. So I kind of worked through that as I got older, but let's think about like how that preparation helped. And it's like, it helped to calm me down, because I knew that when I went to that tournament that I was the most prepared person in the field. I knew it because I was the only one there, and I was there the most, and I just lived at that place for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was ready to fight and ready to go. So I could just relax when the tournament came, because I felt a sense of confidence, even though I wasn't a very confident player at all. I'm still not, but less so then. But that preparation helped to calm my nerves and calm my anxiety, and it kind of allowed me to be more process-minded, because I could let go of the result, because I knew that I did everything I possibly could do. So if I was going to ask for more than whatever I received out of that event, that would be sort of delusional or sort of selfish or greedy or whatever. It's like we only can get what we put ourselves through with preparation, right? And I kind of understood that, and that helped to calm me down. So that was cool. So then I'll tell you a funny story about that tournament, and why we're sitting here right now and I'm talking to you guys is because of this situation. And it's not a very pleasant situation, and I'm not trying to be a hater, and I named names earlier and I cut it off. I'm like, I can't name names. But I'm going to tell you, the last one I played in of those, so I went third, second, and I think the fourth or fifth tournament that I played, it was actually called the Minnesota State Amateur. And I went in, and I'm a golfer, so the state am is a big thing for golfers, and I just had it in my mind. I'm like, finally, there's a state tournament for pool. Let's go. I'm going to win this amateur state tournament, because I'm not a pro. Like, I always say I play at a pro level, but I'm not a professional. I have a job. I have a wife. I have kids. I got a house. I got dogs. I got stuff going on. That's it. So I always felt like, I'm basically an amateur, and I've played, like, this is 15, 20 years ago. Like, this is before I even really played pro events. This was kind of like I was just playing like more amateur pool at the time, so I consider myself an amateur, whatever. So I wanted to win the state am. So what happened was funny. 3 guys came in that were professional players, all over 750, closer to 8, like higher, close. Right now, they're probably closer to 800 players or 770s, whatever. And they came in, and one of them was just a huge gambler, like a stone cold, like crusher. And the other 2 were like, really solid up and coming professional players. And they were pretty young at the time. But they come into this state amateur. They're on the road playing on the road, and they're professional players playing on the road. And for some reason, the pool room let them into this amateur tournament, and I saw them led into the tournament, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, there goes my state am, in some ways. And I was like, okay, whatever, let's just do our best. So long story short, I end up preparing. running in there that morning and being like, are you kidding me? And then I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I get into the finals against one of them and I lose, of course. And it's fine. And humble brag, oh, I got in the finals and lost to the pro guy. Well, whatever. It was like the third year in a row. And I'm like, it's just like, okay, whatever. And then the funniest part, and the reason why I say we're here right now, is because the beat the pro guy that I played was in the crowd telling people, as a professional, watching me play a state amateur against 3 traveling road playing professionals sneaking into our amateur tournament or just like getting loud into it. So here I'm like the legit amateur in the room, and you got this pro guy and these 3 pro guys, and this pro guy is telling people, anyone that wants to listen, that I am dog shit and that I can't play at all, and that I only look like I can play pool because I dress like a professional. Okay, that's the messaging that he's putting out there while I'm playing in the finals against this other pro. So then I find out after that even that the 2 pros that were with the other pro are in the crowd saying the same thing. They're like, this guy's terrible. How'd he get in the finals? This guy can't play at all. And it's like the 3rd year I've been in the finals, and I'm like, I don't know, man, because I prepare, because I care, because I work hard. Yeah, I don't have a sick cue ball, and I'm a ball pocketer, and I'm a grinder, but, I seem like 3 years in a row, I made it in the final of this tournament. And how dare you, sir, come in here as like a on the road professional, 3 professional players dump this tournament to try to win $1,000, and then you're gonna sit there in the crowd and like shit talk me. It was so awful that it's the reason why I said, you know what, if I ever get to a point where I am at a professional level and I can have a voice, or I can have some influence, or I can, if the rabbit gets the gun, it's going to be different, is all I was saying. And now the rabbit's got the gun. Like, I'm not a top pro by any stretch. I'm barely a pro, right? And I've gone through it in the past. It's like, I played a pro level, but I'm not a professional player. I'm not a 750. I'm not some huge money player or anything like that. But I'm like, I've got to a level now where I want to use whatever kind of influence I have to not be like that, right? Like, I want to be supportive. I want to be encouraging. I want to build people up. When I train people, I look for their best quality, and then I help build them on that quality. So just a little side note of like, why are we here? We're here because those 3 guys and that other pro, and they were young at the time, right? The 3 guys were young, so I get it. But we're here because of those guys. That's why we're here. That's why I want to get some of this messaging out in this teaching, right? Because, I was in a spot where I could have used a lot of help back then, and it could have helped me go farther with my game, or it could have just been the kind of nice thing to do. But unfortunately, that's not the culture of this game in a lot of ways. And so here I am trying to change the culture, right? And that's why we're here. That's all I wanted to tell that story, is we're not here by accident, okay? So then we had prep for that situation. Now I'll give a golfing prep one, because this is a really cool one. It has to do with visualization and dedication and everything. So I played in this golf course during college, and it was a tough course. And from the tips, like the longest part of the course, it was even tougher. And at the time I was probably, like somewhere between 4, the course I played, I was easier. So my handicap was pretty low at that point. So maybe it was a 5 or a 6 or a 7, who knows? Could have been it got down in college to about a 4.5, but it was always around that 5 range. But there was a tournament, and it was from the tips, and the greens were fast, and it was a tough tournament, and a tournament golf is tougher, and a 5 handicap in a tournament is not likely to shoot a low score, okay? It's just not likely. It's very likely that if a guy plays loose and practices at a 5 handicap, if you go to like a tournament, it's very likely you're gonna shoot like 90, right? So it's fine. I know this because I used to listen to, like, there was a guy that was on the air here as a personality on a sports thing, and he was like a 2 handicap or a 1 handicap, and he would go qualify for the state am every year, and he would talk about his rounds, and this is a 1 or 2 handicap, so you would think I'd shoot like a 73, 74, he'd shoot like 77, 78. And it's like, competition is very, very difficult. It really, It was difficult for people. And golf, for sure, it's that way for golf. So long story short, I wanted to have a good round in this course. I couldn't break 80 from the tips at this course. Now, I had only played the tips a half dozen times that summer, but I think 80 was the best I had done, or 81. And I'm like, man, I want to shoot. It was a par 72. I'm like, I want to shoot, because there was a cut that I found out about, and it was 2 over, maybe 3 over, but it was 2 over, so 74. So I'm like, I got to shoot 74 if I want to make this cut to play in the championship flight, because you play an 18 hole, and then you play match play against, like, you know, scratch golfers and really high level golfers. And I'm a 5, and I'm kind of a, you know, not a great 5, but decent. But I know how to compete. I know how to prepare. So what did I do? I'll give you the story. I went home and I wrote out my round on paper in a notebook. First hole, every club I was going to use, every place in the fairway I was going to hit, every approach shot iron I was going to hit, every time I was going to 3-putt, 2-putt, every time I was going to birdie, whatever. And I wrote down a mock round where I went and shot 74 at the end. I shot 74 on paper on this round. I hadn't broke 80 before this point. And so I went out the next day, and I'm going to tell you, it was super funny. This is going to be like the most tragic event of my life that I will open up my veins and share with you. I went out and I got to the 18th hole, and I was 1 over. And I was a par 5. And I bombed my driver, okay? And it's a big deal to make the cut to get to the championship flight. So what happens is I bomb my driver. I can't believe I'm telling this story. I'm 1 over, and I hadn't shot below 80 before this. And this is a tournament, like a high pressure tournament, right? People from all over the state, they announce your name on the tee, whatever. So I get there. I'm greenside in the bunker on a par 5 and 2, because I bombed my drive. I hit my second shot. I'm greenside. I'm right in front of the green in a bunker. There's no huge lip. It's really flat. I literally could have putted the thing out. And what happened was, they called in on a walkie-talkie, because the people came up on 18 and found out that I was 1 over, and so the whole clubhouse came out to watch me qualify for the championship flight. And I got down to the greenside bunker, and it was like, I lost my mind. I was so nervous. Everybody walked around in the middle. I totally lost the moment, and I sculled it right into the crowd. And then I chipped it up, and then I was greenside, like literally 10, 15 feet away from the pin. And I ended up getting down in like 4 and took like a double bogey, or maybe I got a 7 on the hole. And I ended up shooting 3 over 75, and I missed the cut by 1 stroke. And I literally could have putted it from there. And I ended up, so it was so tragic, man. It was just like, so you guys might ask yourself, why is this guy passionate, or why does this guy, you know, have confidence or whatever? It's like, if you go through that in your life, that changes a man. And it helps build character. I picked up some character in a hotel in Louisville, but that was like one of the funniest, coolest moments of my life, and it ended in tragedy. And it was just so funny thinking back how devastating that was and how much pressure that was. And it's funny, man. Pressure's a killer. But yeah, and golf is a killer game for pressure. So the fun part was all of my preparation, everything worked like a charm. It was so great. I made some birdies. I made a bogey, or 2. Like I probably made 2 birdies and 3 bogeys, and I probably had that budgeted. And I relaxed and I just did it, and it was like so cool, because I was 1 over greenside, and I just couldn't close the door. So funny. So yeah. And then again, like another 10 years later in a tournament, I did the same thing. Tried to qualify for a championship flight. Was not playing golf at all at this point. But I got pissed because someone was talking shit. So I'm like, I'll go play the tournament. And I was, the hole before 18, I was like 2 or 3 over maybe. And, championship tees on a course. And I had a smoking round going, and the guy that was talking shit was like 10 over, and I'm like I'm ready to make the championship flight, and I ended up snapping it into I hit a bomb, and it pulled left, got behind a tree, melted down, took might have taken a quad, honestly. It was just like the hugest meltdown ever. And then I eagled 18. It shot like 76 or something, but missed the championship flight. But it was funny. God, it was hilarious. I don't remember what I got. It was like, so I finished 2 over, 2, I don't know, probably shot about 76, 77, 75, I don't know. But that was cool because, yes, it sucked to melt down. And wow, it was funny to finish with an eagle because I'm like, man, if I could have just not melted down, that'd have been sick. But yeah, it was cool. But a lot of meltdowns in golf. It was funny. Funny. Oh, I got one more golf meltdown for you. With my dad. This is why I got daddy issues. Preparation. Okay, we'll talk about preparation. This video is way too long. I'm so sorry, guys, but I just want to talk about preparation. I went to the golf course and I took a lesson, and this guy was like an 8 handicap, and Jaime was my Hawaiian instructor, super chill guy, and he showed me how to hit my shots soft. So I was hitting my driver 300. 290. He goes, no, you want to hit it soft, 260, and you're going to love it. And then you're going to hit this 8 iron and not hit it 170. I got a hole in one at 172 with an 8 iron, but this is before I learned how to swing the club correctly. And then you're going to hit your 8 iron 130. So I'm like, okay. And then eventually you're probably going to hit your 8 iron about 140, and you're going to have, you're not going to be hitting a wedge from 130 anymore. I don't hit the ball good enough to hit the ball at heart. Much like pool. So anyways, Jaime's going through this thing with Jaime, and I'm playing and I'm practicing and stuff, and I'm preparing, and I hit a lot of golf balls. So one day I go to the course about a week after this lesson, 2 weeks after this lesson. I'm feeling it. I like it. Things are going good. And I hit a bucket of balls about this big as a training bucket that they use for the instructors. And I just went there because I had a free range pass, and I just took the training bucket and I hit it and I emptied it until my hands were just literally hamburger. And I worked on my irons, and I worked on my irons, and I worked on my irons, I worked on my driver, worked on my everything, and I was putting okay at the time. And I went out the next day with my dad, and we played in a tournament. And it was an easy course. It was a par 70, and it was 35-35. And it's a short course, which is good for me because then I just could target golf my way around. Anyways, I shoot 31 on the front. I'm 4 under on the front. The course record's 59. So I'm like a couple off the course record. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't know if I had broken par. I hadn't broken par in 18 holes before. I had on 9 probably, but I had not been 4 under at the turn before. And it was a big deal because I was the little Buddha at the course. Like, everyone knew me from a little kid, but I kind of worked my way up as a golfer. And so people kind of watched my game a little bit. And at the time, like I said, I was probably like a 8 handicap or 7 handicap, or maybe I was lower, but I was really getting my swing down. So I'm 4 under. And then my dad stared at me the rest of the round, like was playing with me and just staring at me because he was just mesmerized, and he was just seeing if I was going to fall apart. And I fell apart. I ended up shooting what did I shoot? So I shot 69. So I must have shot 38 on the back. So I shot 3 over on the back from 4 under. So that it was just, and a 4 under was just sick. It was just smooth, pure. I never hit the ball that good in my life. But then I lost the moment and fell apart. But shot 69 still. So that was cool. But the whole point is like the preparation, right? Like hitting this many balls and hitting them correctly got me to where I went from, I don't know if I can break par, or I don't know if I can shoot 75, to like I could maybe shoot 63 today, or 64 or 65, or even if I shot par on the back, I shoot 66, right? And that's a tall order, but like that's a low number, right? So it's cool, you know? So what I'm saying is preparation is everything. And it used to be everything. It used to be like my superpower, I would say. And now it's not my superpower because I'm here with you guys, and I got my kids and my wife and my family and my dogs and all my stuff. But, you know, preparation is super important. And I guess the thing is that, you know, I see people prepare, like I see people hit balls when I had the club. I would watch people practice for 6 hours a day and they were not getting better, they're getting worse. And so there's more to it than just hit balls till your hands bleed. You actually have to kind of know what you're doing a little bit and have some like gifts for the game. So I get that. But my overall meta point, I guess, is that preparation is important. Visualization while you're preparing is critical. And that's it. That's it. I just would encourage you guys to work visualization with the money balls, the last 3 balls, whatever. And if you're a beginner, I would say hit the 9 ball, if you play 9 ball, or hit the 8 ball only like hundreds of times and just hit it half tough shots and easy shots and shots off the rail and whatever. Just make hitting the 8 ball a thing, or the 9 ball. If you're an intermediate player, go to the 8-9, or the 7-8-9, or go to 2 or 3 balls in the 8 ball. It's like all these videos that I'm doing with chunking it down that are going to be released soon. I trust me, I'm on it. I've got them locked and loaded. I just have to get the PDFs done, which is a graphic thing. I'm waiting on my graphics guy. But once those get happening, we're ready to launch and monetize it. I'll be good. You guys can work on those things. But basically what it is, it's a little bit of chunking it down so that it's manageable. It's not overwhelming. And then part of it is a visualization thing. You know, you're shooting the last 3 or 4 balls in the 8, the last 3 or 4 balls in the 8, the last 3 or 4 balls in the 8, or the 8 ball, or 2 balls in the 8, or 1 ball in the 8. So if you're a beginner and you hit hundreds of 1 ball in the 8 runouts, or if you're an intermediate and you hit hundreds of 3 ball, 4 ball in the 8 runouts, I mean, imagine what that'll do for your game and your preparation and your visualization. It's great. So, yeah, sorry this is a long one. I just wanted to kind of tell some stories and, hopefully I didn't seem whiny about that stuff with the state tournament. I wasn't really trying to. I think I was more just saying, it's just pool's broken, and that's the type of shit that happens around pool, and it's not good. So we'll change it together, right? That's kind of my point. We'll change it together. I'll at least I'm going to do my part to try to help change it, So, yeah, that's it. I talked long enough. Cut me off. Get the hook. Let's go. I'm done. I love you guys. See you next time. Bye.